Do you want to know how you can do your financial migration process yourself? Well, then, keep watching. Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to CHAMONIX TV, where we are discussing the ins and outs of financial migration today. I am joined by Fred and Diane from Currency Assist. Currency Assist is a well-respected firm or business that's been operating out of South Africa for many years now. And importantly, they don't only serve people that move from South Africa to Australia, but they can also help you move your money from any country to any other country. And more importantly, they do it at a fraction of the cost that the banks would charge you. So if you want to know more about how you can do this thing yourself, stay tuned. But before we do that, have you hit the subscribe button yet today? Go down, hit it. All right, because you want to make sure that you are notified when we bring you some more videos like this, where I can help you make the move over to Australia as smooth as possible. I've helped thousands of other people in the past, and I would love to be able to help you too today. All right, let's dive into the episode. Hello, gentlemen, Fred and Divan, all the way from Currency Assist. How are you guys today?
Good, thanks, Chamonix. How are you doing?
I am well, thank you. Please introduce yourself to our viewers and let them know, what does Currency Assist do and how do you help people on a daily basis?
Yeah, 100%. Like you've mentioned, Chamonix, I'm Divan Meiberg, and I'm the head of operations at Currency Assist. Currency Assist simply is a FSP, a financial services provider in South Africa that specializes in international money transfers for our clients, individuals and corporates needing to move money into and out of the country and on a global scale. So that's me. Frederick, I don't know if you quickly want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, how's it, guys? My name is Frederick Foucher, also known as Fred, to the broader worldwide community. So what I do at Currency Assist is I work closely with financial advisors and brokers to help their clients to move over to different countries from South Africa the best possible way. It's a very tricky industry out there, and to have some sound advice is very important. Yeah, that's basically us. What do you think, Ivan?
Yeah, cool. So I think we've said it all, Chamonix. So we're just very happy to be here, and happy to give our bit of insight on the world of international money transfers.
Very much appreciated, because as you know, financial migration in itself, just the term, can be very confusing to people. Obviously, if you don't migrate, you would not probably have heard from it. And then even when you do migrate, you migrate. So it's immigration. Is it like people don't know where does it fit? What do you do with your money? How do you migrate? Do you actually migrate your money? What's the tax implications? Can you give us a little bit of an overview of how that process works for people who are intending to migrate to Australia? And then once they have actually made it to Australia, whether there's something that they got to do once they've made it over the border.
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. I think the first thing that I'll say is we touched on this in our previous conversation that we had, and it's such a interesting topic, because there's a lot of misinformation in the market, and it's been floating around, on the web for the last 3-4 years. So I'm going to try and just categorize it a little bit, not without boring anybody, but I think it's important just to put things in boxes so that we can get a bit of perspective. And I think the first thing that I'll say is financial immigration is very much a marketable phrase. So there's different actual processes that you do with different regulators in South Africa when you want to move your finances overseas, get approvals, whether that be from a tax perspective in SARS or through the Reserve Bank in South Africa. The reality is that, financial immigration, like I've mentioned, it's a marketable phrase. 2 years ago, you would have gone through the Reserve Bank and you would have done something called a formal immigration, where you would have informed the Reserve Bank of your intentions to permanently immigrate from South Africa and become a formal immigrant. They would rubber stamp an application. You would show them your blocked assets, and they'd give you approval based on that to externalize and send those funds wherever you need it. The rules have changed a little bit. That responsibility has shifted from the Reserve Bank to SARS, which is a good thing. There's always two sides to the story, but let me focus on the positive aspect. It's a much cheaper process now. So you go to SARS, you inform SARS of your intention to become what's called a tax non-resident of South Africa. You work hand in hand with the tax practitioner. You wind up your tax and make sure that your exit tax is up to date and finalized. It's a faster process. It's not as expensive. And then I think the important thing to understand is that the new word in the marketplace is now going to be tax migration. When somebody refers to financial immigration or financial migration, they're basically referring to the process of unhooking yourself from the South African financial system. And that is often a SARS process. And like I've mentioned now, the responsibility really sits with SARS. And then something practical when you on the other side and you're living your life out in Australia and you sort of said goodbye to South Africa, it's very important that you look back and make sure that you've done this, you've tied up your affairs if it pertains to you. It's also a very personal thing. Some people could live happily ever after, quote unquote, in Australia and never really look back. But for the most of the clients that we work with, there is a point where it starts making sense to tie up your financial affairs in South Africa. So that's really just a bit of context. There's a lot more that we can discuss, but it's
yes, no, it's honestly a mouthful. It's a lot for people to understand and to remember. Fair enough. But are there people trying to do it themselves, or would you say it's better to use somebody to help you through the process, such as Currency Assist?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are people that do it themselves, and they can do it quite successfully. We are there to support clients. So fundamentally, what I'd say is that yes, you can definitely do it yourself. And we would still be able to assist at the end of the day, because our core function at Currency Assist is to help you move money fast, secure, and safely out of the country or into the country. But in this context, getting your funds out of the country. So if you have a tax practitioner still in South Africa, or if you have the ability, and it's not a complicated process like it used to be 2-3 years ago to wind up your affairs with SARS. So if you have the ability and the capacity to do it, the time difference might catch you, but you're very much able to do it yourself. We are still there to assist you, with opening the correct accounts and ultimately helping you move your funds. But the short answer is absolutely you can. 98% of our clients prefer to just hand it over so that we can facilitate it on their behalf.
I can imagine, yes, just listening to all those technical jargon that's in the financial market. A lot of people wouldn't have an idea of what that means. At least, most of us know what SARS is, the South African Revenue Service. And for those viewers of us who are watching who live in another country that's maybe not in South Africa, could you guys assist them as well with services for them to migrate or move money between countries?
Yeah, absolutely. So our process is fully digital when it comes to account opening with our banking providers in South Africa, and moving of funds. That the whole process is digital. We have the ability to open up accounts online for our clients. It takes a day and a half to finalize account openings, tax clearances, Reserve Bank approvals, all those things. We do it digitally. A client can sit in their living room and we'll assist them. So absolutely anywhere in the world. To be very honest with you, we have a lot of clients that are in the process of immigrating to various jurisdictions from South Africa, but I would still say that 80 to 90% of our clients are already sitting overseas, and that is a large majority of the clients that we are assisting.
Okay. And do you have any tips for people who obviously want to come over? What are the kind of things that they can start preparing in terms of getting their affairs ready for when they do make it over to Australia? Things that they should start thinking about, or things that are easier to do while they are still in their home country? Obviously, financial migration is very country specific, and each country would have its own rules around how you could, like, let's say you're in India, they'll have their own rules for financial migration, and whether that's a requirement from them as well. But for South Africans specifically, how can they prepare to get financially ready to migrate before they leave? And then once they make it over to the Australian borders, what do they need to do?
Yeah, so it's a very, very short answer again, but be proactive. You know, people are so focused on, and I see it often, really anywhere in the world where they're moving to, people are so focused on getting their visas and their passports and, you know, sorting out their kids. And with that, those things are the priority, but don't neglect the financial aspect of it. So as an example, if you're unsure, start doing a bit of research before you move, because it's just difficult to do it, more difficult to do it, I should say, when you're sitting on the other side. So every tax practitioner has got their own form of a checklist that they're going to have to work through. So it'll be very valuable to get in touch with somebody at Currency Assist, or, you know, even your accountant or tax practitioner that you might know, just to work through that checklist and be proactive with it. Get facilities in place, you know, do those things while you're still in South Africa. It shouldn't cost you money to get facilities in place and get set up. So I think, you know, the short answer is be proactive. And then, you know, a little thing, and it's a little bit technical, but when you're on the other side, when you're in Australia, you've landed, you know, start your job, you know, stay motivated, keep your documentation accessible. You know, I've had it many times where a client is like, I'm on the other side, I've opened my Australian bank account, I want to move my money. And I said, well, we haven't actually opened your account in SA yet. And then they're like, oh, but my ID is in a box somewhere, I need to go and find it. So, you know, just practically keep your documents close to your chest so that you have access to them.
Yes, and keep them safe. Is it possible for them to just have like an online version these days, like, you know, scan in a copy of your ID or whichever document you might need? Is that acceptable to SARS these days, or do they still need original copies to be sent in?
Yeah, so you can get away with a copy, specifically, you know, especially if you can explain to them that, you know, you're sitting, I don't know how many thousand miles away. They will accept it. But the reality is, you know, when opening an account, there's a few processes that you have to go through, and without getting technical again, you know, anti-money laundering and know your client, KYC, those things are very important, and we have to be able to verify that copy of that ID is yours and you are who you say you are, right? So we having the copy and having the ability to do a verification photo with your ID next to your face is important. So I would definitely say, yes, you can get away with it, but try and have it on you when you immigrate.
Which is interesting, because I know that having dealt with you guys previously, that was one of the things that you requested, is a copy of your face next to your passport or identity document, which is something that I've never been asked to do here in Australia, for interest's sake.
Very
interesting.
On that, we always joke, CHAMONIX, and, you know, and laugh about it, because a lot of our clients get their IDs when they're 16, right? That's very normal. They never upgraded to the ID cards, so they're overseas, and now it's 20, 30, 40 years later. Now we ask them for a photo to verify that it's the same person that got the ID 16 years ago. And that's quite funny, because it often doesn't look the same. I know I don't look the same.
Hopefully I'll still look the same in 20 years time. Oh dear. Okay, Jen, so tell me, maybe Fred, you can help us a little bit with people who are already in Australia and who would like to move some money from Australia to any other country in the world, because I know, as you've just said, that you guys can help anybody in the world move money around. What can you do for people here who wants to put money from Australia to America, to Asia, to wherever? And what's involved in that process? And can you show us or give us a bit of idea what Currency Assist does to assist?
Yeah, for sure. So basically what we really do is, as I mentioned earlier, we work closely with financial advisors on their clients. So the majority of South Africans are either their children are already offshore, or their parents are just following their same route. So what happens is the assets are moved from South Africa to basically all over the world. But then what happens in the essence when there's an estate involved? So we try for the funds to stay offshore, never to come back to South Africa, but to get all those in practical applications is quite tricky. So you need to be working with really a well-worth financial advisor on this, specializing in offshore platforms, also offshore assets. And then we've got a white label that basically allows us to move funds all over the world from different currencies. And through that, you could also use our services. Devon, you mentioned that we have a lot of clients on these days that moves money and not reaching South African borders. Can you just exaggerate on that a bit?
Yeah, so absolutely, Fred. So yes, we do, like you mentioned, like we do have a white label solution from a global perspective. So, you know, South African entities, financial services providers in South Africa, we always, our limitation is always the fact that we operate within the parameters of exchange control in South Africa, but there's also a need for global money transfer. So, you know, just to keep it very short, we do have a platform where we can assist clients to move between the Aussie dollar and, you know, the US dollar as an example, or going from euro to yen. You know, to assist those clients, we can open up a facility for them, again, digitally, very quickly, and it actually sits outside of South Africa. So that's very attractive. So yes, we do offer that.
If you say very quickly, what does that mean? Like in the same day or a week, or what kind of time frame is it usually involved?
Yeah, so in South Africa, we're very used to, and we accept the money transfer that takes 24 to 48 hours. The rest of the world is not necessarily subject to exchange control, and money moves a lot faster. So, you know, typically when you go on our global platform and you move money there, you are talking about minutes to hours, and only if you book an exchange rate, you know, for a day or two ahead, will you have to wait. But yes, otherwise you are talking about very fast turnaround times to convert. We're always subject to the time it takes for a bank to process funds. So we've got this platform, we can convert your funds with your instruction. Always you always say, oh, let's say from US dollars to Australian dollars, but the time it takes for the Australian bank to process it once we've transferred it there, that's obviously not in our control.
Yeah, fair enough. You can only control as much as you can, eh? Now, tell me a little bit about how the financial market has changed in recent times. And this is obviously will be probably more South Africa specific financial migration, because you mentioned that it's much faster now. So what's the time difference between, and why is it faster now? What changed and how much faster is it?
Yeah, so it's a lot faster. You know, we were assisting clients with a reserve bank process that could easily take, depending on the individual, his family, and the type of assets that they had in South Africa that they wanted to, you know, declare and liquidate and externalize out of the country. We were seeing anything from three months to, in some cases, 6-7 months, which sounds very slow, but you know, that's obviously for a complicated financial individual, if I can phrase it like that. But now you literally go to SARS. You don't go to the Reserve Bank for this anymore. You go to SARS. You sit with a tax practitioner. You go through a very quick process to showcase that you either will be deemed as a tax non-resident or not. If you're deemed as a tax non-resident, effectively the process is over, right? One thing that I will mention is just, you know, so that, does that answer your question on the timeline? Maybe let me just,
yes, great, thank you.
So then I just want to add, you know, with something that I think is very important is the motivation behind why a lot of people wanted to do this financial immigration, you know, before 1 March 2021 was something we see in the marketplace a lot, was to try and get their hands on their untouched retirement annuities or pension funds, right? Because there was a process through which you can declare that, and once you pay the tax, you can actually externalize the lump sum of your untouched retirement annuity even before the age of 55. That's a big motivation why people wanted to do this. But what's happened now with this change is you now have to be able to showcase that you are a tax non-resident of South Africa for 3 consecutive years. So that means if you tax immigrate today and you've only left the country very recently, you're going to have to wait 3 years before you can access that untouched annuity, right? So that's very important. And then I'd also say that people that have lived in Australia for 3 years or longer but haven't actually done their tax immigration and formalized it to be regarded as a tax non-resident, you can do that. And in a lot of the cases, you can actually backdate it to the day that you were regarded as a taxpayer in Australia. And, you know, then you could be deemed a tax non-resident for that 3-year period already.
Okay, great. Yes, you definitely don't want to be paying tax in more than one place, do you? Okay. I was just wondering with the unfortunate situation that we have in the world at the moment, and as we're speaking, we know that we're in the middle of, the world is in the middle of really upset happenings in Europe, with Ukraine being under attack. How does it influence, firstly, something like a war, you know, something like COVID and a war? How does it influence people's financial positions? And, you know, what should people be thinking about overall financially in situations like this? Is there something that they can do, and I'm hoping the answer is yes, that will help them put themselves in a better financial position in case of, you know, world happenings like that?
Yeah, if I could just explain on that, CHAMONIX. So basically what we need to look at is that important word of diversification. So having all your assets in one place, it's very risky in today's age. Imagine if all your assets was in one of the countries being affected by the war now, and people leaving their homes, their livelihoods with basically nothing because it's linked to the country that you're in. So what we are really seeing is, as people are moving their lives across the globe, they also move their assets across the globe. And what you should definitely have is as I mentioned before, a specialized financial advisor just helping you allocate that assets in the best possible vehicles that when you have to move them, it's quick and easy. So we help with the movement of that funds or the vehicles, and we also can help you get in touch with a specialized financial advisor that can really assist you in that offshore platforms. So that's basically my 2 cents on this: is never have all your investments or assets in one country. Be liquid, know where you can move it as soon as possible, and have it in the best vehicles, tax worthy and international wise. So yeah, that's basically what I think.
Awesome, thank you. Yes, very important. And if I can add my 2 cents there, just on a general kind of scale, is always make sure that you have like double authentication for any of your logins, because you never know when we might have a cyber warfare. And yes, if it's cyber, they can also access, you know, all of your information twice, but still it just adds that one extra layer of making it difficult for people to get into any of your accounts or yes, your estates. So yeah, that's a really important thing. Thank you, gents. It's been great talking to you again. It's always a pleasure to learn what's new in the land of financial migration. And even though it's a topic that can be really heavy for a lot of people, because, you know, granted, not all of us work in the financial industry, we do appreciate that there is the services of companies such as yours, which does an excellent job of helping so many people move their money around, either just between South Africa and Australia, or Australia and or anywhere else in the world. As you said earlier, I think yen and the US dollar, or what was the that one. Thanks, Ivan. So yes, I appreciate your input. How can people get in touch with you if they wanted to potentially make use of your services?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're everywhere, right? So we're obviously on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, even Instagram. You can have a look at our website. You can reach any of our sales agents or our client services department there. So that's just www.currencyassist.com. I can, you can reach us at info@currencyassist.com, at divan@currencyassist.com. But I'm sure we'll obviously display the information on the on this chat as well. But yeah, so we're not hard to find is the point. But yeah, and CHAMONIX, thank you so much for having us. It's like I said in the beginning, it's wonderful to be able to share some information on this market. Like I've mentioned, there's a lot of misinformation, so we love the opportunity to just come in and clarify that it shouldn't be as daunting. And I think it's always good to step back and say, I'm not going to panic. I'm just going to talk to somebody and get all the facts. So thanks for that.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. And just thank you once again from all the people all the feedback that we've had from Currency Assist today is that you guys do a fabulous job, and people feel that they are much better served financially by using you than going through many other options, because apparently they say that you are much more affordable. So well done, and thanks for helping people with such an important part of their lives. Thanks as well to you, Fred. We appreciate you guys getting up so early in the morning to do this video. And we'll do another follow-up again in a year's time or so to see how the market has changed.
Excellent. Thanks so much for having us. Really appreciate your time.
It's my pleasure. All right, take care. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
That's all for the episode today. Thank you so much for watching. But before we go, I want to know, what are the most important things for you that relates to financial immigration? What is that very important thing that you just cannot forget and would not want to forget with moving your money between countries or getting financially out of your current country? Make sure you hit the like button of this video if you enjoyed it, if you found it valuable. I do appreciate every minute that you spend making your life better, because you only have this one life to live. So you might as well make the most of it. And join us on CHAMONIX TV, because next week, same time, same place, we will be bringing to you yet another valuable video on how you can make your move to Australia just that much easier by following our advice. All right, I look forward to it. See you in the next video. Goodbye.